Hi, everyone. I wanted to just chat with you today about HR certification exams. We get so many questions from people who are like, wait a second, what is the exam like? What's the experience going to be? Any tips that someone has who's just taken the exam? So I thought today we would dive in and talk with someone who's recently taken the exam and thankfully had a really positive result. So for those of you who don't know, my name's Jessica Miller Merrill. I'm the founder of Workology and the creator of the ACE the HR exam course. And so I help HR professionals grow personally through HR certification prep and then in their HR careers with our community called Workology. So I'm excited to talk about HR certification, what to expect, what was it like. And I have Darlene Rasmussen with me, and she just went through her exam. Darlene, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So first, let's talk about your HR work experience. What's your job and what's your experience like?
Sure. So I've been in HR for over 20 years now. Excuse me. My career first started out with a residential real estate management company. They were a growing company. They had 150 employees when I started, over 814 states by the time I left. I everything that I learned in HR, I learned on my own by doing it, by applying myself, just taking the time to research and study. I don't have a formal college degree, but I have a killer resume that shows my experience. I was with two companies whose HR departments I built from the ground up. So anything in HR, training and development, benefits administration, employee relations, you name it, if it's in HR, I've had my hands on it.
And so it sounds like you don't have a degree, but you have amazing work experience. Is that one of the reasons why you decided to take your exam?
It is. I really just wanted, it just puts more credibility behind my skills. I mean, I know that I'm perfectly capable of leading, an HR director position, but really just having that certification behind my name just gives a lot more credibility to my resume.
So which exam did you go for?
I did the SHRM-CP exam.
Okay, awesome. And let's talk about your testing experience. Did you do remote? Was it in person? What was that like?
I actually went to a prometric testing facility, and I have to say, it was a little disheartening because the day that I was scheduled for, January 8th, I put all this work into studying, preparing. I get out there, they couldn't get the exam to load, and I couldn't take it. And
Oh, wow.
I literally broke down into tears. I was like, no, you can't do this to me. Like, this is not fair. But anyway, I think it was the universe's way of telling me, take the extra days, study some more. It was 4 days later that I took it and I passed. So, and this was my second time taking it. The first time I took it was June of 2019. I did not pass it. And then come to find out, my score was a 190, which you need a 200. So I literally just missed passing, but you don't know that. And you really just have to study. You have to really study all the competencies because you don't know what to expect when you sit down and you hit start on that exam.
Yeah, the questions are not the same really for any person who takes the exam.
Right.
So what topics or questions tripped you up the most, or did you feel like you struggled with?
Um, the toughest thing I think are the situational questions. And what I did was I did as many practice tests as I could prior to taking the exam. I have all the workology material, which was, I can't even tell you how valuable that was for me. And I'm not just saying this because Jessica's interviewing me, I'm saying it because it really is true. She really goes above and beyond carving out all the different information that has the potential to be on the test. With the situational questions in my practice test taking, Exam Edge is another one. I use their online test. You're able to go back and see, review what you got wrong and understand why you got it wrong. And I'm going to give everyone a great example of something so simple that could trip you up. So there was a question about a non-union employee that had an investigative hearing and something about what was their eligibility or something along those lines. So of course we all know what Weingarten rights are. So of course that's the answer I chose, and I got the question wrong. I'm like, how did I get that wrong? This is impossible. So when I went back and reread it, they asked about a non-union employee. Non-union employees are not entitled to representation. So one little word, that's what I found in a lot of things that I got wrong, that I really had to go back, read the passage twice to understand it, read the question carefully 2 times so I can understand specifically what they were asking, because sometimes it's a question within a question that you're answering. So you have to read all the context of the question to understand it, which sounds confusing, but
And it's crazy because for someone like you and me who've been in HR for a long time, the Weingartner rights used to include non-union employees, and it's went back and forth a little bit. So that's really sneaky.
it was. So you have to be really, really careful. And another piece of advice that I can give, typically right off the bat, there's 2 answers you can eliminate. Use your strikeout option to cross them out. It puts a red line through them so they're not kind of hanging off in the distance. Get rid of them and really go back and read the question and look at your 2 remaining answers. And in a lot of cases, it could technically be either of the 2 answers, but they're looking for the best one. So again, rereading the question a couple times to understand what they're looking for will give you a better idea of how to answer the question.
So you said that this is your second time taking the exam. What do you think was the difference maker for you to go from fail to pass the second time?
So this time around, I put so much effort. I took a study course through one of my local community college, which it was just me. There was no one else in the class. It was just myself and the professor. So I had one-on-one attention for 10 weeks. The workology information, because you have the audio files available, which in the summer I walk my dog for almost an hour. We do a 2-mile walk every day. So the headphones will go on, and that's when I would do my listening. If I was in the car, another thing that I did that was helpful for me, I went through every single of the competency books, and I, looked for specific terms and I wrote them out, because I think writing them out also gives you a better opportunity to absorb them. All the different HR laws, they go back to like the 1800s, up until present time. So understanding all them, because there was just a couple of questions like that were covered, but you don't know what it's going to be. So you really have to really have just a little bit of an understanding of each of them. And then HR theories is another thing. I think there was only 1 or 2 questions, but understand each of the theories and what they were used for, because that is going to come up.
Good, good. Well, I want you to finish this sentence for me. I wish I had spent more time studying on blank.
That's hard to say. I wish I spent more time. I'm trying to think of which of really union relations, because I mean, I do have union experience, but not a ton of it. So really having a better understanding of that, I've worked with a couple different companies that had, union divisions. So I do have the experience. But again, when you're being tested on something and asked questions, it's a lot different than your day-to-day hands-on work that you're doing. So for me personally, I think that's what it would be.
And I think you also hit the nail on the head too. It's like if you have hands-on experience in that area, we have to think like SHRM or HRCI in how we answer the questions. We can't answer them the way we would normally do it in our everyday life, unfortunately.
Correct. Right. And that's the part where people struggle. That's where I say take as many practice exams as you can to really understand the way the questions are formatted and the way they're asked. And you have a lot of great ones on your site that I've used repetitively over and over again. I went through them.
Yeah, and I think the more that you can do, the better, because the questions are positioned in different ways. There's different authors of the questions. Like, you don't know what you're going to get come exam day. And I'm not going to know either. I'm not SHRM. So even, the test writers, I'm sure there's different voices and they agonize hours to make the test as challenging as it is.
Right. And then you have the 30 questions that are just being piloted and you don't know what they are. So they just throw another wrench in. You're not tested on those or you're not scored on those, but they're still in there and it could be anything. You just don't know. But it is when you hit go on that, when you hit start and the clock starts ticking, it's, just take your time, focus. Be as relaxed as you can when you get there that day to your training facility. My daughter was great. She's like, Mom, when you go there, sit in the car for a minute, take a couple deep breaths, and then give it over to the universe. There's nothing else you can do once you walk in that room. And she's absolutely right. Like, you can't stress yourself out over, I know this is something major. It's a very difficult exam, but you have to constantly have positive reassurance in yourself too that you're going to do it.
Couple more questions since you took yours in the Prometric Testing Center. Were you able to bring paper and pencil into the testing center with you to take, or did you have paper?
No, she did give me some scrap paper. They give you a pen. The only thing I tell, leave everything home, your purse, everything. Bring your ID, your glasses if you have them. They will have a locker so you can lock your phone up. Obviously, you can't bring your phone into the testing center. They'll give you a locker for your coat, any personal belongings. I say just make it easy. Maybe if you want to bring your notes in while you're waiting, there's not a big waiting gap. They process everyone pretty quickly. But if you want that last couple of minutes to kind of go through your notes, but walking in there, it's going to be your ID, the key for your locker, the pen that they give you, and the piece of paper.
So no water or anything like that. You're not bringing that in.
I don't think
Yeah.
I didn't bring anything, but I don't think you're allowed to.
Yeah, I think the locker is, I think for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I got a giant bag with all my books in it. How am I gonna, not thinking things through. So I think that's a good advice. Any other advice you could offer for somebody who's maybe just getting started to study? They're going to go ahead and take their SHRM exam or their HRCI, more SHRM, since you took the SHRM. Where should they start? What do you suggest?
So I think getting the body of knowledge, get the books with the competencies, and check your local SHRM chapter because mine did offer a free study class. It was once a week for 10 weeks. They were 3 hours, so it was a lot of time you have to invest. But there was a different instructor for each of the competencies, and they specialized in that competency. So you were getting there. Like I remember the gentleman who taught compensation. I just got a lot of really good information. Take notes, but you have to put the time aside to study. Don't wait until the last minute because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you have to really be prepared walking into it.
Awesome. Well, Darlene, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and congratulations on passing your exam. You're glad it's over, and now you got to worry about recertification, but that's not for 3 years.
No, and I think what I want to do while the material's fresh in my head, I think I want to test for the SPHR.
Okay.
So I kind of have one on each side of it, but go for the senior level on the other. So that's what my thoughts are for the upcoming test cycle.
Awesome. Well, you'll have to come back once you pass and let us know what was different and what your experience was too.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy. Thank you so much for having me. And again, thank you so much for all that you did. Jessica does a great job with all the different quiz shows and all the little study tactics that she offers you. Take full advantage of everything that you can because she understands the test inside and out. So I highly recommend her.
Thank you so much.